Mental Training 101. And now back to Get Warrior Tough with Andrew and Dutch.
I love our bumper music, man. It's good stuff. Yeah, I'm digging it. All right, so this is where we left off. We had this LinkedIn survey of people who had applied for 2 or more jobs, and then they changed jobs between June 2014 and June 2015, and they determined through this algorithm, this analysis of these profiles, what are the most sought-after soft skills. The number one was the ability to communicate, far above anything else, the ability to communicate.
Mm-hmm. And it makes sense. It makes sense. Before the break, I harped on the word effectively communicate because one of my goals is to change communicate and never let it sit there by himself. Communicate how? Because I guarantee you every person that graduated from college can communicate. Almost every single person that graduated from high school can communicate, right? So what does that mean? When you say effectively communicate, then that cuts out all the mess and it cuts out a lot of people that you know. So we've already determined that this is different. So we need to change the language in business and industry. Now, if we're just talking about 2 people talking, communication is great. What type of communication? Effective communication. So in a professional sense, that word communicate should no longer be allowed to stand alone. Not in the warrior culture. We're going to start
right. And let's say when we teach communication, right? One of the things that we teach in our physical thought process is accuracy, the difference between fact and truth. The reason people have an inability to effectively communicate is because they don't separate facts from truth, which we're seeing in this whole article. Is that a fact or is that a truth? Right? So-and-so disrespected me. Is that a fact or a truth? Well, that's your truth. What are the facts of the behavior? Oh, they rolled their eyes. Okay, they rolled their eyes is a fact. They disrespected you is your truth. That's how you perceived the act of eye rolling.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this is where communicate, right? I need this ASAP. Well, is that a fact or a truth?
That's the truth.
Right.
Now, back to the rolling eyes. This is the thing I want to touch the rolling eye. How many times do you rolled your eyes because of a mistake you made?
Plenty, man. So stupid.
But the person in front of you perceives that you're rolling your eyes because of them, right?
Yeah.
So right there, you're all out of whack. So we have to get rid of things like that. These notions that everyone's being harmed, that everyone's being hurt. Those are truths that you can control. You can get rid of those. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant that they rolled their eyes because the facts still remain that we need to move forward. Whatever the information is, whatever the target is, we still need to move forward. Again, you could have been rolling your eyes, disappointed in your own
self,
actions, not the
disrespecting somebody else. Right.
Absolutely.
And number 2, followed by organization. And people, listen, Dutch, people are like, oh, teach us a class on how to be organized. Yeah, it's called critical thinking. It's called a process for thinking your thoughts because you're not going to be organized if your thoughts aren't. So what is your process? And you will automatically get organized when you start thinking your thoughts through the filter that we teach. You're going to automatically.
Isn't it funny how all these things filter out whenever you become a critical thinker? Even the next one and the next one, all these things filter out when you go through our process. You don't have to have 7 different classes on these different things.
No.
They all are covered by what we teach and what we teach alone. Every single one of these things you're about to list is impacted by what we do.
Right. And we call it the golf swing of thinking, right? Because we turned it into a physical process.
Mm-hmm.
So the ability to communicate, you get that when you employ and become proficient with the golf swing of thinking. Organization's automatically going to happen with the golf swing of thinking. Capacity for teamwork, it's going to happen automatically as a byproduct of the golf swing of thinking. Punctuality, you're going to be on time, no problem. You know why? Because your thoughts are organized and you don't get distracted by stuff. You do not get stuck in sand traps, which is what the golf swing of thinking. What's the target is the hole. The sand trap and the water obstacle is not relevant. That's anything that would get you off target. Don't hit it in the water. Gabloosh, where's it going? In the water. This is why people aren't punctual, because they get distracted with sand traps. They get their ball stuck in the water obstacle. It's in the woods. It's in the rough. It's in the sand trap. It's automatically you will be punctual when you start to employ and deploy the golf swing of thinking. And critical thinking is the golf swing of thinking. That is the definition of it. And then there's social savvy and creativity and adaptability. And these things all branch from the golf swing of thinking.
Now, it's funny that critical thinking is 5th on this list.
Which is and that's the key to everything that's on the list.
Everything on the list populates from critical thinking. Every single item on this list, even our day 2 people whisperers, social savvy.
It all comes. You have to have the critical thinking before we could even get the people whisperer.
All of that comes out of critical thinking. So if you're listening and you have an organization with these problems, and I'm gonna jump to the next sentence.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Speaking to the organizations, if you have a problem, and you say things like workers with these traits aren't easy to come by. That's what Cindy Harold, who runs Old Europe Restaurant in Washington, said. Hey, Cindy, call us. That's a truth. That's not a fact. They are easy
She
to
put
come
out
by.
a sign outside saying, seeking workers with common sense.
And that's difficult there. That's why it's difficult. That makes no sense. So you're asking for common sense when what you did makes no sense. Now, check this out. So again, workers with these traits aren't easy to come by. I'm going to give you an easy process and prove to you that's the truth. What's our phone number?
864-977-1443.
You don't even have to use the old rotary dials. You can press a button.
Right.
You can press 10 buttons, or the 11 when you go with cell phones. You just pressing the 10.
Or you could just ask Siri. Just go, Siri, call getwarriortough.com.
No question. So I've just made it as easy as pie. It is no longer a truth, your truth, that is not easy to come by. Maybe we should contact Cindy, because her truth is that they aren't easy to come by. They are. That's a truth, not a fact.
Now, what she said was a fact, because this is what she said. She said, I can teach somebody how to slice and dice onions. I could teach somebody how to cook soup, but it's hard to teach someone normal manners or what you would consider a work ethic. And you're right, Cindy. For you, it's hard. For Dutch and I, it's as easy as you teaching dicing onions.
Absolutely. And that's the problem. You have the wrong people in the wrong spot trying to teach things they aren't qualified to do themselves. They don't have the skill set themselves.
No, I can't slice or dice onions, and I can't cook soup. Look, you don't want me anywhere in the kitchen. But what I can do...
You don't want a math teacher teaching English, right? Now, that doesn't mean the math teacher isn't smart. You don't want them teaching English. So you got non-critical thinkers begging for critical thinkers that they're selecting from a pool when they're not critical thinkers.
And they don't even know what critical... If critical thinking was a person wearing red pajamas walking down the highway and bit them in the nose, they wouldn't recognize critical thinking. Wearing red pajamas, bit them on the nose, wouldn't know who it was.
Now I'm going to jump down. I know we're running out of time. I want to jump
we
down
got a couple
an article
minutes.
where this and it says the paragraph that starts with many employers frustrated by the difficulty of identifying job candidates with the right soft skills have adopted more rigorous hiring practices.
What?
So you're making it harder. So these rigorous hiring practices, I'm going to make it harder on the candidates to try and make sure if they get through this process, they got to be smart. Again, if your target's out of whack, it doesn't matter how rigorous you make it.
And I'll say this, Dutch. Have you ever been to Disney World?
Yes.
Okay, so I always call it like being the Disney employee. They're super nice and great customer service. You know that they're mean, rotten people after they get off the clock, because you cannot put yourself under, right? You can, for a few hours, you can act super nice and super sweet and critical thinking, but unless you change on the inside, and that's just a shtick you're putting on, anybody can put that, here's my point, anybody can put on that shtick for an interview.
Absolutely. And that goes right into the next paragraph. For higher level positions, and that's Adrienne, I'm not even going to remember her. I'm not even going to try and pronounce her last name. Tacinda Conducts.
Okay. I'll go with it.
You know what? I just butchered that. Okay, so she said for higher level positions, she invites job candidates and their significant others out to dinner with the rest of the management team so we can see how they treat their family. Now, you just used a great example that I can put on an act.
Yeah, and in fact, when you meet somebody, aren't you going to be on your best behavior, Dutch? Have you ever walked into a house where a couple was fighting right before you got there for dinner? Did they stop fighting?
Yes, they stopped fighting.
Even in the middle of like a knockdown drag, they stopped fighting because other people were around. That's not a good indicator of how somebody actually treats their family. That's just ridiculous.
No question. We can put on a Disney costume and get through that part of it in order to get what we want.
Yep.
Now, what we're going to do is we're going to create positive, healthy reasons to have motivation to get what you want. Right? We're gonna identify why, the what, the how, all those things, and you're going to get what you want for all the right reasons, not because of some costume that you peel off at the end of the day. You're going to be congruent across every aspect of your life, your private life, your secret life, your public life, all the same. They're going to be all lined up when we take you through our process. So if you're interested in that, again, you don't have to make it more rigorous. We're making it as simple as possible. What's the phone number again?
864-977-1443.
Rigorous is more expensive. It's a larger headache. It's more paperwork. It's all these things.
And less effective.
Hand it over to the experts. That's not only going to coach you through it, that's going to make you, and when you finish, you're going to be more qualified to do what we're doing, but you're still going to want us to do it. You're going to want us to take your whole organization through it, because it's going to be easier when you have an entire culture that speaks the same language, that has the same reasons, that's been through the same process of building their individual processes. And as a bonus, we're going to help you by onboarding everybody that you hire after that. That's what we're going to do. We're going to help you. We're not going to leave you hanging. We're going to create a system that's going to allow everybody that steps foot in your building to be equipped for what you've already done.
Right. It becomes perpetual. I
don't know what to do to make it any easier.
I don't either.
GetWarriorTough.com. Take the plunge. Everybody that has worked with us has come back extremely, extremely happy. I knew it was going to happen that way. You knew it was going to happen that way. And I'm still excited each and every time we do it, because I love it. Because there's always a few in the beginning that seem to be, for lack of a better term, not on board. But at the end, I love the smiles. I love their comments. Right. I love their questions. After the first break, they've already changed their attitude. So
I love telling the story. I was with a bunch of scientists, right, and it was the hardest audience. Harder than Navy SEALs. They did not want to be there. Their arms were crossed. I was like, and you tell the jokes and they don't even laugh. And there's what's funny, what you just said, and they just look at you, and it was hard, And after about a week of training them, over the course of a month, I was there, and back and forth. They were hugging me when I left, and some of them were like, "You changed my entire life," and I was like, "Really?" Because I was like, I have never want to come back here again. But you have no idea what kind of impact you're having until people let you know. But they let me know, and they were, people that didn't even want to shake hands were now hugging me on the way out. It was awkward. Don't get me wrong. It was an awkward hug, but it was still a hug, man.
It's real. It's real. If you want to experience this real stuff, get a hold of us. GetWarriorTough.com. It's not that hard. I guarantee you, when you leave, you're going to feel completely different about all training you've ever received throughout your career, because we hear from everybody. I've never seen training like this before in my entire career. And we're talking about people who've been in it for 30 years or so, 25 years. They all say the same things. GetWarriorTough.com.
Dutch, the hour's gone, buddy. We gots to go. Hey, football season starts. Can't wait. Peace out.